Maya Chen stepped out of her beaten-up hovercar and stared at the massive structure before her. The hangar looked like it had been through a war and lost badly. Rust covered every surface, and the main door hung at an awkward angle, revealing nothing but darkness inside. 20,000 credits, she muttered to herself, kicking a piece of debris. That's all I had left, and I spent it on this dump. The real estate agent had called it a unique opportunity. Maya had called it desperation. After losing her job at the spaceport, she needed something. Anything. That could turn into a business. A storage facility, maybe. Or she could fix it up and rent it out to small cargo ships. She walked toward the entrance, her footsteps echoing in the empty lot. The hangar sat at the edge of New Singapore's industrial district, forgotten by everyone except the rats and the occasional scavenger. The previous owner had died 50 years ago, and his estate had been trying to get rid of it ever since. Maya pulled out her flashlight and stepped inside. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a space much larger than she'd expected. The ceiling stretched up at least 10 stories, disappearing into shadows. Strange equipment lined the walls, covered in decades of dust and grime. What were they building in here? She wondered aloud. Her light swept across the floor, catching something unusual. The concrete looked different in one section, newer somehow. She walked over and knelt down, brushing away the dirt with her hand. There were seams in the floor, forming a massive rectangle about 200 feet long. Maya stood up and looked around more carefully. Now that she knew what to look for, she could see other signs. Support beams that seemed overbuilt for a simple hangar. Power conduits that ran into the floor instead of along the walls. Ventilation systems that made no sense for aircraft storage. She pulled out her phone and called her friend Jake, who worked in construction. "Hey, I need you to look at something," she said when he answered. "Remember that hangar I bought? There's something weird about the floor." "What?" Jake arrived an hour later with his scanning equipment. He was a big man with arms like tree trunks and a perpetual grin that made everyone like him instantly. "Maya, Maya, Maya," he said, shaking his head. "When you said you bought a hangar, I thought you meant something nice. This place looks like it should be condemned." "How're Vidi? Just scan the floor, wise guy," Maya replied. Jake set up his equipment and started the scan. His grin faded as he watched the results appear on his screen. That's not possible," he muttered. What's not possible?" He turned the screen toward her. The scan showed a massive hollow space beneath the concrete, extending down at least 3 more levels. "There's something under your hangar, Maya. Something big." They spent the rest of the day trying to find an entrance. Maya examined every wall, every piece of equipment, looking for hidden switches or panels. Jake used his scanner to map out the underground space, growing more excited with each sweep. "Look at this," he said, pointing to his screen. "The space down there is huge. And these readings, there's metal down there. Lots of it. Refined metal. Not ore." As the sun began to set, Maya found herself standing in front of an old control panel near the back wall. Most of the buttons were corroded beyond use, but one caught her eye. Unlike the others, it looked almost new, as if someone had replaced it recently. She pressed it. Nothing happened. She pressed it again, harder this time. A low rumble filled the hangar. The floor began to vibrate, and Maya grabbed Jake's arm as the concrete in the center of the hangar started to split apart. The massive rectangle she'd noticed earlier was actually a door, and it was opening. Lights flickered on in the space below, revealing a ramp leading down into the earth. But what made both Maya and Jake gasp was what sat at the bottom of that ramp. A ship. Not just any ship, but something Maya had only seen in history books. The hull gleamed despite the years. A deep blue metal that seemed to shift and change as the lights played across it. The design was unmistakably human, but from an era when humanity had been more ambitious, more daring in their engineering. "Is that?" Jake's voice trailed off. "A Tangent-class destroyer," Maya finished. "They stopped making these over 100 years ago." They walked down the ramp slowly, as if in a dream. The ship was massive, easily 300 feet long, and bristling with weapons ports. But it wasn't the size that made Maya's heart race. It was the condition. Despite sitting underground for decades, the ship looked almost new. As they approached, lights began turning on inside the vessel. The boarding ramp extended with a soft hiss, inviting them in. Maya hesitated. Ships like this weren't just abandoned, they were hidden. Someone had gone to enormous trouble to bury this destroyer beneath a fake hangar, and she had to wonder why. "We should call the authorities," Jake said, but his voice lacked conviction. "And tell them what? That I found a warship under my legally purchased property?" Maya shook her head. "Let's at least look inside first." They climbed the ramp and entered the ship. The corridors were spotless, as if a crew had just finished cleaning them. Maya ran her hand along the wall, feeling the smooth metal beneath her fingers. Everything about this ship spoke of power, of purpose. They found the bridge after a few minutes of exploration. It was larger than any bridge Maya had seen on modern ships, with stations for at least a dozen crew members. But the captain's chair drew her attention. It sat in the center of the bridge like a throne, commanding perfect views of every station. Maya approached it slowly and noticed something attached to the armrest. A data pad, covered in a clear protective case. She picked it up and activated it. A message appeared on the screen. "To whoever finds this ship, congratulations. You've discovered humanity's greatest secret and our greatest shame." The UES Prometheus was not decommissioned as the records show. It was hidden, buried here by those of us who refuse to let Earth's greatest defender be scrapped for political convenience. The galaxy has forgotten what humanity is capable of. They see us as traitors, diplomats, peacekeepers. They've forgotten that we once built ships that made entire armadas turn and run. The Prometheus is the last of her kind, the last true warship from the days when humanity stood proud among the stars. She's yours now. Use her wisely. The galaxy is more dangerous than our leaders want to admit, and someday, humanity will need ships like this again. Captain Sarah Chen, United Earth Navy, retired. Maya stared at the message, her mind reeling. Chen. The captain had the same last name as her. She thought of her grandmother, who had served in the Earth Navy before Maya was born. Her grandmother, who had told her stories of the great ships, who had insisted that humanity had grown too complacent, too willing to rely on alien protection. "Maya," Jake said softly, "what are you going to do?" She looked around the bridge, at the sleeping giant she now owned. The smart thing would be to report it, to turn it over to the authorities, and collect whatever finder's fee they offered. But something in her rebelled at the thought. This ship had been hidden for a reason, preserved by people who believed humanity would need it again. "First, we're going to see if she still flies," Maya said, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. Jake grinned. "I was hoping you'd say that. Let me call in sick for the next few days. This is going to be interesting." Maya sat down in the captain's chair, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She'd bought a ruined hangar for pocket change, looking for a way to make ends meet. Instead, she'd found a piece of history, a reminder of what humanity had once been and could be again. The ship's computers began to hum as she activated the startup sequence. Lights flashed across control panels, and somewhere deep in the ship, engines that had slept for decades began their awakening cycle. "Welcome aboard the UES Prometheus," a synthetic voice announced. "All systems entering standby mode. Captain authorization required for full activation." Maya looked at the datapad again, scrolling through the information Captain Chen had left. Technical specifications, weapon systems, defensive capabilities that surpassed anything in the current human fleet. But more than that, there were personal notes, thoughts on humanity's place in the galaxy, worries about the future. "The Canary Empire grows stronger every year," one entry read. "They smile and trade with us now. But I've seen their military buildups. They're preparing for something. And what do? We decommission our best ships in the name of peace. Peace is only possible when you're strong enough that war becomes unthinkable for your enemies." Maya found herself nodding. She'd worked at the spaceport long enough to see the truth in those words. Alien traders spoke politely to humans. But she'd heard the conversations they thought humans couldn't understand. Many species saw humanity's peaceful stance as weakness, not wisdom. Found something, Jake called out from one of the other stations. He was studying a tactical display, his construction experience helping him understand the engineering readouts. This ship has some kind of experimental power core, something called a vacuum energy tap. Maya, if these readings are right, this thing could power a small city. Maya joined him at the station, looking over the data. The technology was beyond anything she'd studied. But the basics were clear. The Prometheus wasn't just powerful. It was revolutionary. There's more, Jake continued. The weapon systems. They're not standard plasma cannons. Look at this. He pulled up a schematic. Gravitational lances, antimatter torpedoes, something called a reality anchor that I can't even begin to understand. The more they discovered, the more Maya understood why the ship had been hidden. This wasn't just a warship. It was a statement. A declaration that humanity could build weapons that defied conventional understanding. That human engineering could match or surpass anything in the galaxy. But it also explained why it had been buried. A ship like this would terrify the galactic community. It would shatter the careful balance of power that kept the peace. No wonder the government had ordered it scrapped. Jake, Maya said slowly, I need you to promise me something. Whatever we find here, whatever we decide to do, this stays between us for now. No posting on social media, no bragging to your buddies at the bar. This is bigger than both of us. Jake nodded solemnly. I get it. This is the kind of thing that could start a war if the wrong people found out about it. They spent hours exploring the ship, documenting what they found. The Prometheus was fully stocked with supplies, weapons, even small fighter craft in the hangar bay. Someone had prepared it for a long mission that never came. As midnight approached, Maya found herself back in the captain's chair. The ship felt alive around her, waiting for orders, waiting for purpose. She thought about her life up to this point. A dead-end job, no family except distant relatives she never spoke to. Dreams of adventure that had faded with each passing year. Computer, she said. What would be required to make this ship fully operational? The Prometheus is currently at 87% operational capacity, the computer replied. Full operational status would require replacement of degraded coolant in secondary systems, calibration of navigational arrays, and a minimum crew of 5 to operate essential systems. With modern automation upgrades, the ship could function with a crew as small as 3 people. She could actually fly this ship with just 3 people. Maya felt a laugh bubble up from deep inside her. It was insane. She was actually considering it. What are you thinking? Jake asked. I'm thinking that Captain Chen was right. Humanity has forgotten what we're capable of. We've become comfortable, complacent. We trust others to protect us, to guide us. She stood up, looking out the bridge viewports at the hangar walls. Maybe it's time someone reminded the galaxy that humans didn't become a spacefaring species by being timid. You want to fly this thing? Maya, you were a cargo handler, not a naval officer. My grandmother was, though. She taught me more than you'd think. And the computer systems can handle most of the complex operations. She turned to face him. I'm not talking about starting a war, Jake. But maybe if certain parties knew a ship like this was out there, they'd think twice before pushing humanity around. Jake was quiet for a long moment, then grinned. You know what? Why not? My job's boring anyway. Count me in as your engineer. We'll need at least one more person, someone who knows weapons systems. I might know someone, Jake said. My cousin Lisa. She got dishonorably discharged from the Navy for asking too many questions about why we were scrapping our defense platforms. She's been working private security, but I bet she'd jump at a chance like this. Maya nodded. It was really happening. She was really going to do this. Set up a meeting. But be careful how you approach her. We need to know she can keep a secret. As they prepared to leave for the night, Maya took one last look at the Prometheus. Tomorrow, she'd start the legal paperwork to close the hangar to public access. She'd need to be careful, move slowly, not draw attention. But eventually, when the time was right, the galaxy would remember why humanity had once been feared as much as respected. She pressed the button to close the underground hangar, watching as the massive doors sealed away humanity's sleeping giant. 20,000 credits. That's all it had cost her to change her life forever. As she drove home through the empty streets, Maya couldn't stop smiling. She'd wanted a business opportunity, a chance to make something of herself. Instead, she'd found a purpose. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength had always been their refusal to accept limitations, their drive to build the impossible. The galaxy had forgotten that humans were descendants of predators, explorers who had conquered their world through intelligence and determination. They'd forgotten that human engineering had once produced wonders that defied explanation. Maya Chen was going to remind them. Lisa Wong arrived at the hangar 3 days later, wearing dark sunglasses and a leather jacket that had seen better days. She was smaller than Maya had expected, barely 5 feet tall, but the way she moved spoke of military training that civilian life hadn't erased. "Jake says you have something interesting to show me," Lisa said, her voice carefully neutral. "He also says it's worth risking my security clearance to see it." Maya glanced around the empty lot, confirming they were alone. "What I'm about to show you doesn't officially exist. If you want to walk away after seeing it, you can. But if you stay, you're part of something that could change everything." Lisa tilted her head. "Dramatic much?" "Fine. I'm curious." Maya led her into the hangar and activated the hidden entrance. As the floor split open and the lights revealed the Prometheus below, Lisa's expression went from skeptical to shocked to something Maya could only describe as hungry. "Holy mother of..." Lisa walked down the ramp slowly, her trained eye taking in every detail. "That's a T-tangent class. But the configuration is wrong. Those weapon ports, those aren't standard." "It's the Prometheus," Maya said. "The one they claimed was scrapped in 2180. "It's the Prometheus. The one they claimed was scrapped in 2180. Lisa spun around. "That's impossible. I've seen the decommission records. I've seen the photos of it being broken down for recycling. Fake records, fake photos." Maya handed her the datapad with Captain Chen's message. A group of Navy officers hid it instead. Lisa read through the message twice, her face growing more serious with each word. When she finished, she looked up at Maya with eyes that seemed to burn. "Do you understand what this means? I was discharged for suggesting we were making ourselves vulnerable by scrapping our defenses. They called me paranoid, said I was living in the past." She gestured at the ship. "This proves I was right. Someone high up knew we needed ships like this." Jake emerged from the ship, grease already staining his work clothes. "Hey, cuz, pretty amazing, right?" "Amazing doesn't cover it." Lisa walked up the boarding ramp without hesitation. "Show me the weapons systems." They spent the next 4 hours going through the ship's capabilities. Lisa's excitement grew with each discovery. The Prometheus wasn't just armed, it was equipped with weapons that pushed the boundaries of physics. "Gravitational lances that can crush a ship from the inside out," Lisa muttered, studying the specifications. "Antimatter torpedoes with yields that could crack a moon. And this reality anchor." She paused, reading more carefully. "It prevents FTL jumps in a localized area. Enemy ships can't escape once you engage." 1. "Can you operate these systems?" Maya asked. Lisa looked offended. "I was the best weapons officer in my fleet before they kicked me out. Give me a week to familiarize myself with the interfaces, and I'll make this bird sing." Over the following weeks, they fell into a routine. Jake worked on bringing all systems online, replacing degraded components with modern equivalents where possible. Lisa studied every weapon, every defensive system, running simulations until she could operate them in her sleep. Maya threw herself into learning the ship's navigation and command systems, her grandmother's stories providing context for the complex interfaces. They worked in secret, careful to maintain the appearance of renovating the hangar above. Maya hired a few workers to fix the exterior, making it look like she was actually planning to run a storage business. The workers never suspected that their employer spent her nights learning to command one of humanity's most powerful warships. One evening, as Jake was elbow-deep in a power coupling, he asked the question they'd all been thinking. "So when do we actually fly this thing?" Maya looked up from the navigation console she was studying. "Soon. But we need a destination, a purpose. We can't just take her out for a joyride." "Actually," Lisa said, "I might have something." She pulled up a star chart on one of the displays, highlighting a system on the edge of human space. "Remember the colony ship that went missing last month? The Harmony?" Maya nodded. It had been all over the news. 3,000 colonists bound for a new world, vanished without a trace. The Navy had sent a patrol ship to investigate, but it had found nothing. "I still have contacts in the service," Lisa continued. "They're whispering that the patrol ship did find something. Debris consistent with weapons fire. But the government classified the report and told the media the ship probably had a drive malfunction." "They're covering up an attack?" Jake asked. "Gets worse. My contact says the energy signatures match Canary disruptors. The Canary are claiming that sector as part of their expansion zone, even though it's been designated for human colonization for 50 years. Maya felt her anger rise. 3,000 people, families looking for a new life, murdered. And the government was hiding it to avoid confrontation. "Can your contact get us the coordinates?" she asked. Lisa smiled grimly. "Already did." 3 nights later, they were ready. Jake had performed miracles with the engines. Lisa had every weapon system online. And Maya had spent countless hours in simulation. Learning to command the massive ship, they waited until the early morning hours when the industrial district was empty. Maya sat in the captain's chair, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to do. "All stations report ready," she ordered, falling into the formal language that felt right for the moment. "Engineering ready," Jake reported. "Power core at full capacity. Drives are hot. Weapons ready," Lisa added. "All systems armed and operational." Maya took a deep breath. "Computer, execute launch sequence." Authorization: Captain Maya Chen, assuming command of UES Prometheus. Authorization accepted. "Welcome aboard, Captain Chen." The hangar doors above them opened fully for the first time in decades. The Prometheus's drives engaged with a deep rumble that Maya felt in her bones. Slowly, majestically, the warship rose from its hiding place. The night sky greeted them as they cleared the hangar. Maya could see the lights of New Singapore stretching out below. Unaware that a piece of history was rising above them, she engaged the ship's stealth systems, technology that made them invisible to civilian sensors. "Take us up," Maya ordered. "Nice and easy." The Prometheus climbed through the atmosphere with surprising grace for such a large vessel. Maya watched the altimeter climb, feeling a mix of exhilaration and terror. They were really doing this. As they cleared the atmosphere and entered open space, Maya got her first real sense of the ship's power. The Prometheus moved like a predator, smooth and confident. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of possibilities. "Course laid in for the Harmony's last known position," Maya announced. "It'll take us 3 days at cruise speed." "Weapons systems optimal," Lisa reported. "If we run into trouble, we'll be ready." "Engines performing better than expected," Jake added. "Whatever tech they used in that power core, it's incredible. We're barely touching our energy reserves." They jumped to hyperspace an hour later, after clearing the system's traffic zones. The familiar swirl of colors surrounded them as they entered the dimension between dimensions. Maya had seen it hundreds of times from cargo ship viewports, but seeing it from the bridge of a warship was different. She wasn't just a passenger anymore. She was in command. The 3 days passed quickly. They used the time to run drills, to practice working as a crew. Lisa ran combat simulations, teaching Maya and Jake the basics of space warfare. Jake fine-tuned the engines and taught the others about the ship's unique systems. Maya studied Captain Chen's notes, learning about tactics and strategies from a different era. On the second day, they detected another ship on long-range sensors. A Canary patrol vessel, according to the signature. Maya ordered silent running. and they passed without incident. But the encounter reminded them that they were entering dangerous territory. The Canary have been pushing boundaries for years, Lisa explained during one of their planning sessions. Testing human resolve. They know our current fleet is mostly patrol craft and diplomatic vessels. We retired our last real warship 20 years ago. Why? Jake asked. Why would we disarm when threats still exist? Politics, Maya answered. The peace faction in government believes military power provokes conflict. They think if we appear harmless, others will leave us alone. That's not how predators think, Lisa said darkly. They see weakness, and they exploit it. On the third day, they dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates Lisa had provided. Maya expected to find empty space, maybe some debris if they were lucky. What they found instead made her blood run cold. A Canary fleet, 3 cruisers and a dozen smaller vessels, arranged in a defensive formation around something. As the Prometheus's sensors resolved the image, Maya gasped. It was the Harmony. Or what was left of it. The colony ship's hull was breached in multiple places. Clearly the result of weapons fire, but it was still largely intact, and the Canary ships were attached to it like parasites. They're salvaging it, Lisa said, her voice tight with anger. They murdered 3,000 people, and now they're stripping the ship for technology. Are there life signs? Maya asked. Hoping against hope, Jake checked his sensors. None. But wait. I'm picking up something else. Escape pods. Looks like about 40 of them. Tethered to one of the Canary cruisers. Prisoners, Lisa concluded. They took some colonists alive. Maya felt rage build inside her. This wasn't just an attack. It was piracy, slavery. And the human government knew and did nothing. Battle stations, she ordered. Lisa, I want targeting solutions on all hostile vessels. Jake, bring the stealth systems to maximum. Let's see what we're dealing with before they know we're here. The bridge transformed, lights dimmed to combat levels. Tactical displays came alive with information. The Prometheus was awake, ready for what it had been built to do. 13 hostile vessels confirmed, Lisa reported. 3 Kandor-class cruisers, 6 destroyers, 4 corvettes. Standard Canary fleet configuration. They outgun us 13-1. In conventional weapons, yes, Maya said. But we're not conventional. Computer. Analyze tactical situation. Recommend engagement strategy. The AI's response was immediate. Canary vessels are arranged in standard salvage formation. They are not expecting attack. Recommended strategy. Simultaneous strike on all 3 cruisers using gravitational lances, followed by antimatter torpedoes spread on smaller vessels. Estimated time to complete destruction of enemy fleet, 47 seconds. 47 seconds to destroy 13 ships. Maya understood now why the Prometheus had been hidden. This wasn't just superior technology. It was overwhelming superiority. Captain, Jake said softly, if we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will know humanity has this capability. Maya looked at the image of the murdered colony ship. Thought of the 3,000 lives lost. The 40 still in captivity. They already started this war, she said. They just thought we wouldn't fight back. Lisa, target all hostile vessels. Prepare to engage on my mark. Targets locked. Gravitational lances charged. Antimatter torpedoes armed and ready. Maya opened a communications channel. If she was going to do this, she would do it right. Canary Fleet. This is Captain Chen of the United Earth ship Prometheus. You are engaged in an act of piracy against human civilians. Release your prisoners and withdraw immediately, or face the consequences. End. The response came quickly, dripping with arrogance. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Varrock of the Canary Empire. This sector is under Canary jurisdiction. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Or we will destroy you. Computer, Maya said calmly. Record all sensor data for transmission to Earth Command. She looked at her small crew, saw the determination in their eyes. They understood what this moment meant. For too long, Humanity had stepped back, avoided confrontation, trusted in the goodwill of others. That trust had been repaid with murder. "Commander Varrock," Maya said, "you were warned. All ships, fire." The Prometheus struck like divine judgment. 3 gravitational lances lashed out simultaneously, invisible beams of twisted space-time that grabbed the Canary cruisers and crushed them like empty cans. Before the smaller ships could react, a spread of antimatter torpedoes was already streaming toward them. The Canary fleet, so confident moments before, simply ceased to exist. 13 ships became expanding clouds of plasma and debris in less than a minute. Only one corvette managed to get shields up in time, and Lisa destroyed it with a casual burst from the point defense guns. "All hostiles destroyed," Lisa reported, her voice slightly awed. "No survivors detected among the enemy fleet." "Jake, can we retrieve those escape pods?" Maya asked. "Already calculating approach vector. We can have them aboard in 20 minutes. As they moved to rescue the survivors, Maya stared at the debris field that had been a fleet. She felt no satisfaction, no joy in the victory. Only a grim determination. "Computer, prepare a message packet for Earth Command. Include all sensor recordings of the destroyed colony ship and the Canary salvage operation. Add the following message. The Prometheus has returned to service. Humanity will no longer tolerate attacks on our civilians. Any force that preys upon human colonies will face the same fate as the fleet destroyed here today." "Message prepared. Shall I transmit?" Maya hesitated. Once that message was sent, everything would change. Humanity would be forced back onto the galactic stage as a military power. The peace faction would be furious. The aliens who had grown comfortable with human weakness would be terrified. "Transmit." The rescue operation went smoothly. 43 colonists, mostly children and young adults, were brought aboard. They were traumatized, having watched their families murdered, but they were alive. Maya met with them briefly, explaining who had rescued them and promising they would be returned to human space safely. One of them, a young woman named Sarah, grabbed Maya's hand as she turned to leave. "They laughed as they killed us," she said, tears streaming down her face. "They said humans were sheep, only good for serving stronger species. They said no one would come for us." "They were wrong," Maya said firmly. "And everyone will know they were wrong." As they prepared to leave the system, Jake brought disturbing news. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive hyperspace signature. Something big is coming." Moments later, an entire Canary battle group dropped out of hyperspace. 20 ships, including a battleship that dwarfed even the Prometheus. They had come to protect their salvage operation. "Well," Lisa said with dark humor, "this should be interesting." Maya studied the tactical display. 20 ships, including a capital ship with enough firepower to level a city. In any conventional battle, they would be hopelessly outmatched. But the Prometheus wasn't conventional. "They haven't scanned us yet," Jake reported. "Our stealth systems are holding." Maya made her decision. "Drop stealth. All power to weapons. Let's show them exactly what they're facing." The Prometheus appeared on Canary sensors like a ghost becoming solid. Maya could imagine their confusion, then recognition, as they identified the ship class that hadn't been seen in over a century. The Canary battleship hailed them immediately. "Prometheus, this is Admiral Korvac of the Canary Empire. You have committed an act of war against our salvage fleet. Surrender immediately, or face annihilation." Maya stood up from her chair, facing the view screen with steel in her spine. "Admiral Korvac, I am Captain Maya Chen. Your salvage fleet was engaged in piracy and murder. They fired upon and destroyed a civilian colony ship, murdered 3,000 innocent humans. That is the act of war." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Look at your sensors, Admiral. Look at what one human ship did to your fleet in under a minute. I have 2 more gravitational lances charged and ready. I have enough antimatter torpedoes to turn your entire battle group into free-floating atoms. The only reason you're still alive is that I'm giving you one chance to withdraw. You dare threaten the Canary Empire? We will crush your single ship and then burn your worlds as an example to others. Maya sighed. Some species only understood strength. Computer. Target their battleship's engines only. Fire gravitational lance. Minimum power. The invisible beam reached out and gently twisted space around the battleship's engine pods. The massive drives crumpled like paper, leaving the ship dead in space but otherwise intact. The bridge was silent, except for the hum of instruments. 20 Canary ships, and their flagship, was crippled with a casual demonstration of power. "Admiral," Maya said calmly, "that was a warning shot. The next one won't be. You have 60 seconds to order your fleet to withdraw. Leave your crippled ship if you must. But leave, and tell your empire that human space is no longer undefended. Tell them the Prometheus flies again, and we will not tolerate any attacks on our people." The seconds ticked by slowly. Maya could see the smaller Canary ships breaking formation, uncertainty replacing their earlier confidence. They had come expecting to chase off a single human ship. Instead, they faced a weapon from humanity's fiercer past. All Canary vessels. Admiral Korvac's voice was strained but defiant. "Withdraw to minimum safe distance and prepare for hyperspace jump." One by one, the Canary ships fled, leaving their crippled battleship behind. When the last one had gone, Maya opened a channel to the abandoned vessel. "Admiral, we're going to leave you enough power for life support and communications. Call for help from your own people. But remember this moment. Remember that we could have destroyed you all, but chose mercy. That mercy has limits. Test them at your peril." She cut the channel and turned to her crew. "Take us home. Best speed." As the Prometheus jumped to hyperspace, carrying 43 saved lives and proof of Canary aggression, Maya reflected on what they'd started. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's secret was out, but maybe that was for the best. For too long, humans had hidden their strength, pretended to be less than they were. They'd trusted others to respect their peace, and that trust had been betrayed. The Prometheus had reminded everyone of a simple truth. Humanity didn't need anyone's permission to defend themselves. They never had. The return to Earth space took 4 days. During that time, Maya watched the galactic news networks explode with reports of the incident. The footage she'd sent to Earth Command had been leaked within hours. And now everyone knew what had happened. "Unprovoked attack on Canary salvage operation," one alien news anchor declared. "Return of human aggression threatens galactic peace," announced another. But human networks told a different story. The images of the destroyed colony ship, the recordings of 3,000 murdered civilians, sparked outrage across every human world. Protests erupted outside the Parliament building on Earth, demanding answers about why the government had hidden the attack. "Captain," Jake called from his station, "we're getting a priority message from Earth Command. Admiral Peterson wants to speak with you." Maya had expected this. She straightened her uniform, a spare Navy outfit they'd found in the ship's stores, and accepted the call. Admiral Peterson appeared on the screen, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Captain Chen, you are ordered to surrender the Prometheus immediately upon arrival at Earth. You will be placed under arrest for theft of military property and unauthorized military action against a foreign power." "With respect, Admiral," Maya replied calmly. "The Prometheus was legally purchased along with the hangar that contained it. As for the military action, I was defending human civilians from pirates. Last I checked, that was still legal under interstellar law. Don't play games with me, Chen. That ship was supposed to be destroyed. Its very existence is a threat to the peace we've worked decades to build." "What peace?" Maya's voice hardened. "The peace where aliens murder our colonists and we pretend it didn't happen? The peace where we bow and scrape and hope others will be kind to us? That's not peace, Admiral. That's slow surrender." Peterson's face grew red. "You have no idea what you've started. The Canary are mobilizing their entire fleet. Other species are demanding explanations. You've undone 20 years of diplomatic progress in a single day." "Good," Maya said simply. "Maybe it's time we stopped progressing toward extinction." She cut the connection before he could respond. Lisa looked up from her weapons console. So, we're rebels now? Apparently. Maya turned to address both her crew members. I won't ask you to follow me any further. When we reach Earth, you can leave. Say I coerced you, that you didn't know what you were getting into. Jake laughed. Captain, I just spent the last month getting this beauty running. You think I'm walking away now? What he said, Lisa added. Besides, someone needs to keep you from doing anything too crazy. As they approached Earth, they found their path blocked by a human fleet. 12 patrol ships and 2 light cruisers, the best Earth Command could muster on short notice. It would have been an impressive show of force against a normal vessel. Prometheus, this is the ENS Columbia. You are ordered to halt and prepare to be boarded. Maya studied the tactical display. The human ships were arranged to box them in, but their formation showed they didn't truly understand what they were facing. Jake, can you broadcast on an open channel? I want everyone to hear this. Channel open. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Prometheus. I'm transmitting on an open channel, so all of humanity can hear the truth. 3 days ago, we discovered the colony ship Harmony destroyed by Canary forces. 3,000 human civilians murdered. 43 survivors taken as prisoners. She paused, letting that sink in. Your government knew. They hid it from you. Called it a drive malfunction. They were willing to let 3,000 deaths go unanswered to preserve their illusion of peace. We answered. We saved the survivors and destroyed the pirates responsible. And now your government wants to arrest us for it. The communications board lit up with incoming messages, not just from the fleet, but from civilian ships, stations, even planet-side facilities. Humanity was listening. I found the Prometheus hidden beneath a hangar I bought legally, Maya continued. Hidden by Navy officers who knew this day would come, who knew humanity would need strength again. They were right. The galaxy sees our peace as weakness. The Canary thought they could murder us without consequence. They were wrong. Captain, Jake whispered, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. Ships jumping in. A lot of them. Maya nodded. She'd expected this too. Citizens of Earth, you have a choice. Surrender the Prometheus and go back to hoping others will protect you. Or stand up and remember what we are. We are the species that conquered our world, that reached for the stars when everyone said it was impossible. We are not sheep. We are not servants. We are humanity. And we will not go quietly into the night. The sensor alerts became urgent. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace all around Earth. But they weren't Canary. They were human. Cargo ships, private yachts, mining vessels, even a few decommissioned military craft that civilians had purchased. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Forming a protective shell around the Prometheus. What the hell? Lisa breathed. The lead patrol ship hailed them again. But this time, it wasn't the captain. A young officer appeared on screen, looking nervous but determined. Captain Chen. This is Lieutenant Commander Torres. Captain Reynolds has been relieved of command by unanimous vote of the crew. The Columbia stands with the Prometheus. End quote. One by one, the other ships in the blockade fleet signaled their allegiance. Not to Earth Command, but to the idea that humanity deserved to defend itself. Captain, Jake's voice was tight with urgency. Those long-range contacts are Canary. It's their entire sector fleet. Over 100 ships. Maya felt a cold determination settle over her. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's future. All human vessels. This is Captain Chen. A Canary war fleet is approaching Earth. They come believing we are weak, divided, afraid. They come to punish us for daring to defend ourselves. I say we show them how wrong they are. She turned to her crew. Battle stations. All weapons hot. Jake, bring the reality anchor online. Let's make sure none of them escape to tell the tale. Maya, Lisa said quietly. Even with the Prometheus. 100 ships. We're not alone, Maya replied, watching as more human ships continued to arrive. And we have something they don't expect. We have the will to fight. The Canary fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, a massive wall of metal and weapons designed to intimidate. Their leader, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even their battleships, immediately broadcast on all channels. Humans of Earth, I am Supreme Commander Thakrak of the Canary Empire. You have committed acts of war against our sovereignty. Surrender the terrorist vessel Prometheus and submit to Canary justice, or face the consequences of your arrogance. Maya stood on her bridge, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. This moment would echo through the centuries. Either humanity would submit and slowly fade into servitude, or they would remind the galaxy why humans had once been feared as warriors. Supreme Commander, I am Captain Maya Chen. You speak of acts of war? Your forces murdered 3,000 civilians. You speak of justice? Where was justice for the families on the Harmony? You come here with 100 ships, thinking we will cower. You're about to learn why our ancestors hid ships like the Prometheus instead of destroying them. She turned to Lisa. Target their dreadnought. Full spread. All weapons. Targeted and locked. Supreme Commander, you have 10 seconds to withdraw your fleet. This is your only warning. The Canary response was predictable. All ships, attack. Burn their world as an example to any who would defy the Empire. Fire. The Prometheus erupted into action. Gravitational lances reached out like the fingers of an angry god, crushing 3 battleships simultaneously. Antimatter torpedoes streamed toward the enemy formation, each one carrying enough destructive power to vaporize a city. The reality anchor activated, preventing any Canary ship from fleeing into hyperspace. But the Canary had come prepared. Their ships scattered, shields at maximum, returning fire with everything they had. Plasma beams and missile swarms converged on the Prometheus, only to splash harmlessly against shields that had been designed to withstand weapons from a more violent age. The civilian fleet didn't stand idle. Cargo haulers rammed smaller Canary vessels, their captains broadcasting defiant last messages. Mining ships turned their industrial lasers on enemy hulls. Even small pleasure craft darted in, drawing fire away from larger targets. Shields holding at 90%, Jake reported. These Canary weapons are like rain on armor plating. Don't get cocky, Maya warned. Lisa, coordinate with the Columbia. Let's show them what human tactics look like. The battle raged across Earth's orbit. The Prometheus carved through enemy formations like a sword through silk. But the Canary had numbers. For every ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Human losses mounted as civilian vessels paid the price for their courage. Then, something unexpected happened. Jump signatures appeared throughout the system. But these weren't Canary reinforcements. Ships bearing the markings of other human colonies arrived, then vessels from the merchant guilds, even a few from the disbanded Explorer Corps. Humanity was answering the call. Captain, you need to see this, Jake called out, his voice filled with awe. On the edge of the system, something massive was emerging from hyperspace. As the jump signature resolved, Maya gasped. It was another Titangent-class destroyer. Then another. Then a third. Ships that were supposed to have been scrapped, emerging from hidden vaults across human space. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Indomitable, a voice crackled over comms. Sorry we're late to the party. Had to dig our girl out of an asteroid they hollowed out 50 years ago. Captain Nakamura, unconquered, reporting for duty. Found ours under a fake mining operation on Titan. Captain Smith, relentless, joining the fight. Amazing what you can hide in a gas giant's moon. 4 Titangent-class destroyers, each as powerful as the Prometheus, turned their weapons on the Canary fleet. What had been a desperate battle became a slaughter. The Canary Supreme Commander's voice, once so arrogant, now carried fear. This is impossible. These ships were destroyed. We saw the records. You saw what we wanted you to see, Maya replied. Did you think we survived in a galaxy full of predators by being stupid? We knew this day would come. We prepared for it, and now you face not one ancient warship, but humanity united. The 4 Titans moved in perfect coordination, their weapons creating a crossfire that no shield could withstand. Canary ships evaporated under the onslaught. their crews learning too late that human mercy had limits. In desperation, the Supreme Commander tried one last gambit. His dreadnought turned toward Earth itself, charging weapons for a bombardment that would kill billions. "Oh no you don't," Lisa snarled. "Captain," requesting permission to show them what a reality anchor can really do. "Do it." Lisa's fingers danced over her console. The reality anchor, already preventing hyperspace jumps, suddenly focused on the dreadnought. Space itself began to twist around the massive ship, the very fabric of reality becoming a weapon. "What are you doing?" the Supreme Commander screamed. "Teaching you a lesson," Maya said coldly. "You came here to commit genocide. Instead, you'll serve as a warning to others." The dreadnought began to compress, its hull buckling under forces that physics couldn't properly explain. In seconds, the pride of the Canary fleet was reduced to a ball of hyperdense metal no bigger than a shuttle. The remaining Canary ships, seeing their flagship destroyed in such an impossible way, lost all cohesion. They scattered, trying desperately to escape. But the reality anchor held them fast. One by one, they were hunted down and destroyed. As the last Canary vessel exploded, a strange silence fell over Earth orbit. The debris of two fleets drifted among the civilian ships that had paid the ultimate price for humanity's freedom. But they had won. Against all odds, against a force that should have crushed them, humanity had won. "Open a channel," Maya ordered. "All frequencies." When Jake nodded, she spoke to the galaxy. "This is Captain Maya Chen to all species monitoring this transmission. Today, the Canary Empire thought they could intimidate humanity into submission. They were wrong. We are not conquerors. We do not seek war. But we will not tolerate attacks on our people. We will not bow to those who see our desire for peace as weakness." She paused, looking at the other Tangent-class ships that flanked the Prometheus. "The age of human vulnerability is over. We have remembered who we are, what we're capable of. We extend our hand in friendship to all who would take it. But those who mistake our friendship for weakness, who prey upon our civilians, who threaten our worlds, will learn why humanity once stood among the greatest military powers in the galaxy." The transmission ended, and Maya slumped in her chair. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. They'd done it. They'd changed everything. "Captain Chen," a new voice came over comms. It was Admiral Peterson. But his tone had changed completely. I owe you an apology. And my resignation. You were right. We'd forgotten that peace through strength is the only peace that lasts." "I don't want your resignation, Admiral," Maya replied. "I want your help. We have 4 Titans and whatever else is still hidden out there. We need to build a real fleet again. One that can protect humanity while we explore and grow. The Parliament will never approve it. The Peace Faction just watched civilians die to save Earth," Maya interrupted. "I think their perspective might have changed." Over the following days, the galaxy reacted to humanity's return to military prominence. Some species, those who had always respected strength, welcomed it. Others, who had grown comfortable with human weakness, protested, but none dared to challenge it directly. The 43 survivors from the Harmony were returned to their families as heroes. Each one told stories of the captain who had saved them, the woman who had bought a hangar and found humanity's future. Maya stood in that same hangar weeks later, looking at the empty space where the Prometheus had been hidden. The ship now orbited Earth openly, a symbol of humanity's refusal to be victims. Jake and Lisa had been commissioned as officers in the reborn Human Defense Force, and Maya had been confirmed as captain of the Prometheus permanently. Her phone rang. It was the real estate agent who had sold her the hangar. "Miss Chen, I'm calling about your property. Given recent events, several parties have expressed interest in purchasing it for significantly more than you paid." Maya laughed. "Not for sale. I'm thinking of turning it into a museum. A reminder of what we can accomplish when we refuse to accept limitations." She ended the call and walked outside. The sky was full of ships now, human vessels of all types. Cargo ships flew with more confidence, knowing they were protected. Colony ships prepared for departure, heading for stars that had been off limits when humanity was weak. And among them, barely visible to the naked eye. Patrol craft bearing the markings of the Human Defense Force stood watch. 20,000 credits. That's all it had cost to change the course of human history. Maya had bought a ruined hangar looking for a business opportunity. Instead, she'd found a reminder that humanity's greatest strength had never been their weapons or their ships. It was their refusal to give up, to accept defeat, to go gentle into that good night. The galaxy had been reminded that humans were not prey. They never had been. They were survivors, builders, warriors. When necessary, they were the species that had looked at the impossible void between stars and said, "We can cross that." They were the ones who faced extinction and chose evolution instead. Most importantly, they were the ones who remembered that sometimes, the price of peace is the willingness to war. As Maya walked to her car, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from the captain of one of the other Titans, sharing coordinates. Found another cache. Looks like our predecessors hid an entire fleet of frigates under the Martian ice cap. Interested in helping us dig them out? Maya smiled. The galaxy thought 4 Titans were frightening. Wait until they learned what else humanity had hidden away, waiting for the day they would be needed again. She typed back a simple response. On my way. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human strength had begun. And somewhere among the stars, other species were learning an ancient truth. Never underestimate the humans. They had bought a ruined hangar for pocket change and changed the galaxy. Imagine what they could do when they really tried.